Yeah, let's take a look at our founding fathers and the influence the Jewish Trivium had in education and discipling its students. I believe our founding fathers recognized the importance of educating the youth of this new republic, drawing inspiration from Jewish ideology to create a moral community governed by law under God. The founding fathers envisioned a system that had upheld the principles of liberty and the republic. Many recognize that for this new republic to thrive and endure, education would be essential in establishing the foundation for a self-governed people. Take a look at Samuel Adams. He wrote, "If virtue and knowledge are diffused among the people, they will never be enslaved. This will be their great security." Noah Webster wrote, "It is an object of vast magnitude that the systems of education should be adopted and pursued, which may not only diffuse a knowledge of the sciences, but may implant in the minds of the American youth the principles of virtue and of liberty, and inspire them with just and liberal ideas of government, and with an inviolable attachment to their own country." Benjamin Rush, father of colonial education, wrote, "We profess to the Republicans, and yet we neglect the only means of establishing and perpetuating our Republican forms of government. That is, the universal education of our youth and the principles of Christianity by the means of the Bible. For this divine book, above all others, favors that equality among mankind, that respect for just laws, and all those sober and frugal virtues which constitute the soul of republicanism." Governor Morris wrote, "For avoiding the extremes of despotism or anarchy, the only ground of hope must be on the morals of the people. I believe that religion is the only solid base of morals, and that morals are the only possible support of free governments. Therefore, education should teach the precepts of religion and the duties of man towards God." The typical education of the time was what we would now call a classical education, starting around the age of 8. Students who attended school were required to learn Latin and Greek grammar, as well as study the works of Roman historians such as Tacitus and Livy, and the Greek writers Virgil and Horace. We can see the influence of these classical historians had on the founding fathers as they shaped this new republic. A formal education also emphasized the 7 liberal arts: grammar, logic, and rhetoric, along with arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. As synagogues played a role in Jewish culture, so did churches in American colonies. Following the examples of the reformers like Martin Luther and John Calvin, who emphasized the importance of education so that people could read the scriptures, the American colonies adopted a similar approach. The 1560 Geneva Bible became the primary text in the home and the foundational text in the classroom. Vocational education also became significant, teaching children essential skills for managing the land and engaging in trade. Secondary schools, known as grammar and Latin schools, were established to prepare students for the universities. To be accepted into universities, students were required to be proficient in both Greek and Latin. Between the ages of 14 and 15 years of age, they could then handle the next level of rigor. The university became the institution designed to prepare them for leadership. The primary goal of the universities was to cultivate civic and religious leaders. George Wythe was one of the founding fathers of the United States. He was born in Virginia, and Wythe was tutored by his family and studied to be a lawyer. Wythe became a successful lawyer and was named as the Attorney General of Virginia in 1754, but left the office the following year after he was elected to the Virginia House of Reps. Wythe also taught at the College of William and Mary, where from 1762 until 1767, he taught some of the founding fathers, one in whom would be created the author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson. Weiss' purpose as a teacher was to form leaders as well as lawyers. He expected his students to read and take notes from the English classics. Twice a week, he lectured. He questioned students on passages from their readings. And once or twice a month, he had his students argue cases before him and other faculty. Each Saturday, the students gathered into model legislatures where they debated bills drafted for the state legislation. And he developed and polished skills in his students in public speaking. This method of education did not prepare students for a job, it prepared them to be a world changer. Many of the colonial universities of that time had a very distinct purpose. Harvard was founded in 1636. Its mission was to be a ministry that passes on the cultural and religious tradition to the people. 1693, William and Mary College was opened to breed good ministers. 1701, the Puritans opened up Yale to give good religious education. In 1746, Princeton opened up and wanted to educate boys for the ministry. These institutions laid down a biblical foundation while at the same time stretching the minds by learning from the past, the Roman Republic, and the governance and philosophy of the Greeks. This form of classical education influenced the men who would later rise to fight in the American Revolution and write a document that would shape history, becoming a lasting symbol of freedom for the past 250 years. They created a nation not ruled by a monarchy, but by we the people, a nation governed by the people, for the people, with the accountability to God. It stated, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights and governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness." Faith, character, heart, and service.